Do you want to increase your character's overall power by a minimum of 45% and set yourself up to move from Torment 1 to Torment 4 with ease? Well, that's what we're going to cover in today's video. We're going to be talking about tempering and masterworking. I'm sure that most of you have had some run-ins with these two functions, but there's a lot of strategies that I use in order to get myself immediately into tier 4, even at the start of the season. Day 1 of Season 7, I was successfully able to carry my character on its own from Torment 1 all the way to Torment 4 using these methods. The first thing that we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about tempering. Tempering is how you are going to unlock masterworking. Tempering your gear cannot be done on uniques. It can only be done on legendary gear. That legendary gear can be your normal legendaries or your ancestral legendary. Both of them, you'll be able to add 2 affix lines to your gear. So you start off with 3 right here, then you're going to go from 3 to 5. This is going to be a huge increase to your power just right off the bat, and we're not even getting into masterworking yet. If you're just hitting level 60 and you haven't dumped into tempering yet, tempering should be done as soon as it is unlocked. It is kind of a time sink to go back very often, but a lot of times if you feel yourself getting stuck or slowing down a little bit, adding your tempers is a great way to increase that. Tempering is going to be done right here at the blacksmith. When you click on the tempering section, you're going to be able to put in your gear. All of your gear is going to have 2 slots in order to temper. When you do those 2 slots, the only piece that will not have 2 slots is your amulet. Your amulet will have 5 available. When you put your tempering in, so you can see right here, you have weapons and you have offensive. That's going to add 2 different affix lines to it. You can select which one you need based on what your character's build is going to be. Now, just simply taking something that says damage is not necessarily the best way to go about putting your tempers on. So if you do not know which ones to add or how to add them, I would highly suggest looking at a build guide. You don't have to follow the build guide to a T. You don't even need to run the build. But if you look through build guides, you can see how people are building builds, what tempers they're using, how they're using them. It's a really, really great way to share information with player to player, and you'd get a really good idea of what character building looks like. If you've never looked at a build guide before, this is the one that I have right here for my Stompquake Barbarian. If you come down into this here, you go right to your gear stats. This is going to show you all of the tempers that I put on. When we get into some of the more advanced ones here, it actually shows you where I put my masterworking, and we'll talk about what putting masterworking anywhere is later on in the video when we get to masterworking. But this will show me the tempers that I need for these specific pieces of gear. For the weapons, for example, if you go down to the bottom, we're going to be running heavy-handed as one of the utilities. We're going to be running heavy hitter, one of the weapon abilities. Now, on the surface, it doesn't say that this adds damage, but this is actually giving you stats towards a specific skill that is giving you an incredible amount of damage. Now, if you were just getting into the game and you didn't know that those stats were there, this is a great way to look. But okay, so why are they running heavy hitter? So then you go and you find out what heavy hitter is, and then you put these tempers on for this build. It's showing critical strike damage here, but on this one, we're showing damage while berserking. Well, why are we running damage while berserking when we're also running critical strike damage here? There's a lot of different ways to build characters because we need that damage while berserking for something completely different other than the damage while berserking. Now, that's going to be in a build guide video for you. If you want to learn about the Barbarian, I'll have the build guide video linked in the description of this video so you can see why we're running all of these different weird tempers based on what item they're on. That's going to be an option for you too if you want to check it out. Hopping back into the game, we're going to select your tempers here. Now, we always have a set amount of tempers that you can use. If you go down to the description here and you look at the bottom right down here, it shows 5 out of 5 is how many tempers we have. Each one gets a free one. So technically you have 7. We're going to click here and we're going to click on whichever one we want, and then you're going to hit temper. When we temper it, it's going to go through an animation screen. You can skip that if you want, and then it tells me the power that I've just added onto this gear. This is a brand new piece of gear. So now we're going to do it to the other one, because you cannot masterwork a piece of gear if you don't have both tempers. So you see my sword is not able to be masterworked. So now we have to go back over here, and we're going to put this back on, and we're going to select something else here. We're going to do their second temper. Now, let's say that I didn't get the one that I wanted. So I looked at my piece of gear here, and the first one I got was overpower damage. I'm not running overpower build, because I'm running whirlwind, and whirlwind can't overpower. So we're going to go back here. We're going to go back to worldly finesse. We're going to try and re-roll this again. So now we're working on our second time. I got critical strike damage. Perfect. That's exactly the one that I wanted. So we're going to leave it like that. Now we're going to go back in here, and I'm going to be re-rolling. There is a way that you can get yourself in order to re-roll something if you find something that you don't like. We're going to be going through, and I'm looking for very specific one. So far, I haven't gotten that specific one. We're going to re-roll. This is my very last chance. It tells me right here I have one chance left. I roll it, and unfortunately, I don't get the one that I wanted. All hope is not lost. If you have been running the Infernal Hordes, and you can do this on tier 1, you can do this on tier 2, you can do this on tier 3, or it doesn't really matter. You go over to your Consumables tab. We have now been collecting Scrolls of Restoration. When you use this, it will pop up with anything that has 0 tempers left on it, and they can be re-tempered. You're going to use this Scroll of Restoration, and now we gain 5 tempers back. I can go back in. I already have the critical strike damage roll that I wanted. Now I can re-roll my weapons, and it gives me 5 additional times. That is a one-time thing. If you still don't get the temper that you want in those next 5 times, that piece of gear cannot be salvaged. It is gone. It is lost to the ether of the bricks. So that is how you're going to be adding your tempering in. Something that's very, very beneficial. If you notice right here, this one has 5. But when we looked at this here, it has 6. And then when you get even further in, this one has 8 total tempers. The more greater affixes that you have, which are these stars right here, the more chances you get. They wanted to make sure that we had a fix. They gave us an additional time. And then on the really, really great pieces of gear, where you're getting those 3 greater affixes, you have additional chances in order to get your tempers so you don't lose those items as often. So you've now officially tempered your gear. Now we're going to look at Masterworking. This is going to be a huge source of power for you, like I was saying in the very beginning of the video. Why? When you put this in here and you look, the very first thing that it tells you, all affixes increase by 5%. So if you take every single piece of your gear and you masterwork one time, you have now given yourself a 5% overall increase to all of your stats on your gear. That's already a big increase. Now, this goes up to rank 12 on almost all pieces of gear. If we're running anything that is level 750 or lower, you can only masterwork up to 8 times. And when we start the masterworking process here, we've done it once. If you look at the very top here, it shows 1 out of 8. When you go into a piece of gear that is an ancestral unique, we look at that now, this says 4 out of 12. You can do each piece of gear a different amount. That's why when you first hit Torment 1, and why it's so important to move from Penitent to Torment 1, that's where you first start getting your ancestral legendary gear. As we masterwork, we've already put 1 in, so now we have circles here. We're going to go all the way through. When we get to your 4th masterwork, now it says 25% increase to 1 affix. So out of all of the 5 affix lines that we have on here, we're going to get 25% to 1 of them. We'll talk about how to target the specific ones that you're going to need later on. But as we hit this button here next to upgrade, it's going to tell us exactly which one gets that 25%. It's going to show your earthquake duration is now increased and does 79.8%. We look here, that's where you can see it's in blue. As you start to get your gear to different places, if you hit the same one twice, you can look here, heavy hitter is yellow. That means that I put Masterworking has hit the same exact affix 2 times. So now it's a rare affix. When you look at other skills, like this one here, where you see a orange one, orange means that it's a legendary because the Masterworking 25% has hit in the same place 3 times. Why is that important? And how do you do it? The reason that it's important, most builds have very specific stats that make the biggest difference based on how you're building your character. For example, we were talking about heavy hitter. Heavy hitter here is the reason that I put 3 masterworking crits into this, and the crits are the 25%. I had them hit 3 times into heavy hitter. Heavy hitter is a huge increase to the damage that I'm going to be doing. We scroll down on the barbarian and you look, heavy hitter gives me a 390% increase to damage. That is going to be the reason that I put so many points into heavy hitter. I have 26 ranks. That's all because of masterworking. If I didn't masterwork the gear correctly, then I wouldn't be able to get that much increase to damage. That's how you're able to go from Torment 1 to Torment 4. Now, when you first hit Torment 1, you 100% should not focus on getting your 3 masterworking crits on your specific affix. You should take every single piece of gear to level 4, Then you should take every single piece of gear to level 8. And then you should take every piece of gear to level 12. It does not matter. It can look like this right here, where you have 2 and 1. It can look like this here, where I only have a single Masterworking crit in 3 different affixes. For my endgame build, that won't work. But for leveling, that is going to be a really great way for you to be strong enough in order to get from Torment 1 into Torment 4. So don't worry too much. When you salvage the gear, you're actually going to get back all of your Masterworking materials. If you go into here and you salvage this piece of gear that I just put some Obdicite into, we're going to salvage this. We get back all of these Masterworking materials down here on the bottom that we just put into the gear. So salvaging gear gives it back, so don't be afraid to masterwork. It's a big increase to power, and people shy away from it until they have the perfect gear. Don't do that. Get it all back when you find a better piece of gear, and then you can put all the masterworking into that. How do you get specific masterworking crits and specific pieces of gear? That is very pricey. It costs a lot of Obdicite and it costs a lot of gold. I have a video that's going to show you exactly the best places to farm Obdicite and what you want to do and where to go do it. I will also have this document listed inside of the description of this video. This shows you where each endgame activity is, what it does, what drops from each of them. So you can actually go through, find the activity that you want to do that drops Obdicite. So use this, and then you can use the video that I'm going to have linked also with the most efficient farming. The reason and the way that you do this, we're going to put this club in here. Now the club I've already done to 4. I didn't get the one I wanted. I wanted heavy hitter. That's going to be the one that I want on my weapons. Well, I need to reset this. How do you reset it? You reset it by doing reset masterwork ranks. You're going to click here. This is where it gets pricey. This is going to cost you 5 million gold. It's actually going to cost you materials to reset that you can't get back. So that's going to be the price of resetting one time. You lose all of the masterworking materials that you put into the gear. So make sure that you have enough materials to do this successfully. The strategy that I use is I take every single piece of gear to level 12, and then I focus on one piece of gear at a time. So if by chance that one piece of gear doesn't get the rolls that I wanted, I haven't wasted all of my other pieces of gear, and now my build is bricked. So now we're going to reset, and then we're going to go back through this again. We're going to do 4 masterworks into this. We're going to see if we get heavy hitter. We didn't get heavy hitter, so then you just reset again. This is the way that it goes. Now, when you get your character to your 8 masterworking, right? So, for example, let's just say that I wanted your damage to close. Now I want to try and get my second one to hit damage to close. How you do that? You're going to upgrade again. We're going to upgrade again here, and then we're going to hope that we get that damage to close, but we didn't get it. Now when I reset it, it doesn't go back down to 4. You go straight back down to 0. So now we are right back at square 1, and you have to start over again. This is where it gets very pricey and a little bit time consuming. You need to make sure that you have enough materials stored up so you don't end up with a piece of gear that you've been trying to get in, and now all of a sudden you have no masterworking materials left, and you can't get it back to 12. Now you don't do as much damage, or your character doesn't have as much movement speed or much resistances as it used to have. Save up a lot of materials before you start working on this reset process. As we talked about before in the build guides, it's going to show you in most build guides exactly where the best masterworking options are going to be. It's going to be highlighted here in the orange. Most of them are going to have a single affix line that's going to need to get triple masterworked into. That means that 25% is going to land on that specific affix 3 times. All of the materials that you're going to need for masterworking your gear are going to be very, very easily obtained inside of the headhunt zones. You can get all of the Obdicite by doing the different activities. They're out in Hantu. There's several different ones of them. They're all going to be listed in the document that's going to be below. The way that you can get Obdicite for all players is going to be in the Infernal Hordes and Nightmare Dungeons. If you do have the expansion pack, you can run the Undercity Cross. You can find those Tributes of Refinements. Those are what you're going to want to run. These right here, on Torment 4, they're going to give you 2,000 Obdicite. Now, there is a big difference between running these on Torment 1 and Torment 4, so make sure that you try and save them up for whenever you get into Torment 4, if you can. They give you 2,000 at Torment 4, and at Torment 1, I believe it might be 600, so there's a really big difference between the Torment tiers in order for them to drop. One more bonus way in order to get Obdicite, and this one kind of gets overlooked, but they changed that a little bit this season. You go down to your mercenaries, and you go to the mercenaries, you go to rapport. You see how we've been earning pale marks here as we've been fighting. We go back and you collect all of your pale marks. I've already collected a bunch of mine. Then you go to travel to the den. This is actually a really, really great source of Obdicite that you can get simply from playing the game. It gives you a bunch of rapport. You get the pale marks just by fighting with your mercenaries. You don't have to be doing anything other than just running with them. Your reinforcements get experience as you're playing with them. So you don't even need to have all the mercenaries out to do it. Every single day, you're going to get a free restock. You click on the restock here. And what you're going to be looking for is you're going to be looking for a masterworking cache. We'll see if we can get one here. You got a masterworking cache right here. You buy this masterworking cache. You open this. Watch how much Obdicite drops out of this masterworking cache. 1,000. That's not even the minimum. It can go up sometimes to 1,300 just from playing with your mercenaries and collecting that. If you just open up, let's say I had 5,000 the other night, I got over 20,000 Obdicite just coming over here with 5,000 pale marks and opening up all the masterworking caches. This is a great, great source of doing it that you're going to get just by playing the game. So don't miss out on that rapport. There's a ton of stuff. The boss mats that you get from here also are really, really big. You're going to look for the boss mat cache, just like we did the masterworking cache, and you can buy all of those. Great source here. Don't miss out on it. I found 3 GA items here. I found max aspects from this. Really, really great addition to the game if you have the expansion pack. So if you do not have the expansion pack, this won't apply to you. So that's the video. Hopefully this helped you a lot. Hopefully you can get your character from Torment 1 to Torment 4 nice and easy if you follow these methods. Let me know in the comments if this was useful. Let me know where your characters are at, what you're playing. I'm live every night. Stop by, say hi, theorycraft with me. Catch you on the clip side.